I Watch People in Cages, Part 3 and Part 4. So, Lisa is still missing. The place is still in lockdown, and I haven't been allowed to leave. They're afraid of her getting out, I guess. Besides the whole not aging thing, and her taste in movies, Lisa always struck me as the least harmful of the bunch. So I'm pretty worried considering how much they're freaking out about her possible breach. Even Fred's didn't evoke this much panic out of the higher-ups. Good news is that I still have some free time to write all of this out. Besides Lisa being missing, I've still been going about the normal routine. Feeding, removing bones from Bill's cage, cleaning up after Fred's feedings. Speaking of which, the new Fred is a particularly messy eater. Or would it be drinker? Considering I'm giving it blood, Cassie seems to be particularly aggressive since Lisa's disappearance. She's tried more than once to bite me. The one that's been worrying me has been Bill. I was feeding him yesterday and saw something moving around inside his chest as he downed his daily rat. Tomorrow is another move, or should be, at least. I'm not sure what with the security lockdown in effect. So since I haven't much been able to write about these events, I'll take a suggestion to tide you guys over. Some of you were curious about the personalities of the peoples in the cages. Well, because I am a person of the people, I'll tell you about them. Fred is usually quiet. However, if he misses a scheduled feeding, reminder it's every 7 hours, he gets exceptionally aggressive and talkative, making a lot of threats. My personal favourite had to be the time he told me that if I was late feeding him again, he'd make a smoothie from my tendons. Overall, however, Freds, when I have interacted with them outside of a hostile state, are very polite and very well spoken. Cassies are less people, more animals. They don't speak much outside of grunts and growls. Personality-wise, they're as deep as a dog bowl. That said, they're also the least hostile of the bunch, outside of feeding time. Probably has something to do with the electrified cage. I even hand-fed one once. Well, wearing thick leather gloves, but still, gave her some of my burger. Let's not tell TD, eh? So while they look like normal, if small women, they really don't act like it. Marys are religious nuts. They're constantly praying or trying to turn someone to their religion. The current Mary is a pagan. She worships some ancient deity named Hastur. Always asking something about a sign. I don't know. They're interesting, but not much in the way of conversation. I tune them out most of the time. Bobs are mixed, as is to be expected. Most are very prone to conversation. Typically it's water cooler talk. You know, what happened at the game, or what happened on Game of Thrones, back when it was still coming on. I actually chat with them during my coffee breaks. They're pretty nice guys. You know, ignoring the eye thing. But don't let that fool you. They'll try strangling me a few times. That's why I have the stun gun. Earl is Earl. Not much to say. He always has his nose buried in a newspaper, so he doesn't talk much. Chads can't speak at all due to the whole black substance from every orifice when they speak issue. Before she went missing, Lisa was our typical 6-year-old as far as personality is concerned. She even had an imaginary friend. She called him Mr. Abba. Her bear she called Beazle. Interesting names, but hey, she's a weird little kid. Or at least she's a strange whatever she is. I have no opinion on Bill, as he's still rather new. Oh crap, TD is getting all of us together for some kind of meeting. I'll update later. Okay, so TD gave us the rundown. When and if we find Lisa, she's to be given restrictions for the time being. Furthermore, we are never to reference her imaginary friend or her teddy bear directly from here on out. As for the doll, it's still in the cage with Bill last I saw, but no one else noticed or cared about it besides me, and the caged Mary in particular holds dull in reference, it seems. More weirdness from this place, I suppose. The security are still doing a full sweep to find Lisa, but so far, no luck. I haven't mentioned the thing inside Bill to TD yet. Seems he has a lot on his plate right now. Never come to your boss with a problem, only solutions. I heard that in a movie. TD also gave all of the people with clearance, i.e. everyone here presently, the files on each captive. I haven't gone over them yet, but I'm certainly intrigued to find out why they've locked all of these people away. In the middle of that last update, shots were fired. We found Lisa. She was eating a member of security. It was a mess. His limbs were arranged in a heart shape, and she had ripped off his scalp. When they found her, she was dipping his kidneys in ketchup like chicken nuggets. They naturally opened fire. She didn't so much as flinch. The man's intestines were draped around her neck like a scarf, and his scalp was on her head. I nearly vomited when I saw it. I'm a bit fuzzy on the details, but somehow we managed to secure her and place her back into her cell. So that's what she eats, as it turns out. The doll was in her cage when she was put back. I didn't mention it to anyone, but the doll, which as I told you had cat paws in place of hands, well, one hand was now a human one, with a tattoo distinctly similar to the poor bugger Lisa was just eating. I'm going to read those files. I'm done not knowing what I'm dealing with. Well, I don't know much more than I did previously. I don't know what they did, or why they all fit into certain categories. Most of this file is redacted. This feels like a waste of time in all honesty, but it's a start. The only one thing that wasn't completely redacted was Cassie, and she's human in appearance only. She's actually some kind of succubus, or siren, or something. I'm not sure, but she's quite literally a man-eater. The pound of meat isn't any kind of meat, it's human meat, and I still don't know where they go every 3 days, and that's why the case instructions are so specific. I'll keep you guys updated. Tomorrow is transfer day. Part 4. So I come into work today, and TD was in a panic. Why? Number 8's skin was found in his cage. Not his body, just his skin. As for the doll, it's still with Lisa in her cage. I wanted to tell him about it, but one thing at a time, you know. Today is transfer day, and in a few hours one of the cage will be leaving. Who? I have no idea, but some of you suggested I attempt to talk to the current Mary about her religion. Maybe she knows something we don't, so that's what I'm going to do. I sat in front of the cage in an old wooden chair. Mary, as usual, was deep in prayer. She spoke some language that I didn't understand. I cleared my throat and she looked up. "Have you seen the yellow sign?" she asked, smiling ear to ear. She was a native woman, with an accent that seemed a mix of Australian and American. Aboriginal, maybe? I shook my head. "Why don't you tell me about it?" Only pausing for breath, Mary went into great detail about her patron entity, otherwise known as the King of the Yellow, and, in some places, simply the Yellow. Hastur was the patron of shepherds to some, to others an unfathomable darkness. I nodded as if understanding, but truthfully I was more confused than I was previously. Finally I asked, "Why are you here? Why are you in?" I pointed to the cage. "There." "I don't know," she said, her voice faltering for the first time. This Mary was a regular chatterbox, and this was the first time she had fallen silent. "What about that doll? The one the little girl has?" She eyed the doll warily. Lisa was nose deep in the colouring book, but the doll looked right at her. "I do not know. At first I thought it to be the vessel of Hastur, but—" she trailed off. "What that crazy bitch is saying is that the doll is something else." Earl spoke up for the first time in what seemed like ages. "Why are you here then?" I asked, turning my attention to the mustachioed man. He shrugged. "Jaywalking," he replied, going back to his newspaper. Mary spoke again. "The doll, it has a darkness, similar to the king, but not quite," she said. It was as she said this the doors opened. They wheeled in the new captive, and as they approached Mary's cage her eyes widened in fear. They shoved me aside roughly and unlocked her cage. They dragged Mary out as she dug her nails into the dirt with such force that it left a mark in the floor beneath her. They strapped her in as she cursed in that unknown language and wheeled her away. Her replacement, a nun, came soon after. Well, so much for that lead. Security had been on extra high alert since the old man, we're guessing anyway, shed his skin. I was reprimanded by TD for talking to the pagan Mary about her religion. He didn't punish me or anything, but let me off with a warning. She said that doll had a darkness, and I believed her. I've also talked to Lisa a bit today. I asked her about Mr. Abba. She said his full name is Donald Abba III. Never heard of an imaginary friend having a first and last name. I don't know. I have to focus on the job, so I'll update you guys later. Update. So I told TD about Lisa's doll. What he said worries me. A lot. He said he didn't see any doll. That's unnerving. So not only is there possibly a sentient doll, but now I'm the only one who can see it besides the caged. I've conducted interviews with the rest of the cage since Mary's transfer, besides Cassie and Chad, because, well, they can't really speak. Fred was up first. He said he was there simply for being him. This particular Fred was so overweight, he was tired from standing for too long. So as he sat on the floor of his cage, I finally asked, "What do you know about the doll?" gesturing to Lisa's cage. "About as much as you do, I suppose. Showed up in her cage one day." "Showed up? How did I miss that on the monitors?" "Yes, sir. The one who was moved today. Well, she wouldn't shut up about it. For a few hours at least, then she avoided it like a pest on a shoe or something." He snorted. "Where did it come from?" "They're in West Virginia originally," he states matter-of-factly. Moving on. Earl didn't provide much more info than Fred, but what he did tell me caught my ear. He claimed to be from Nazareth originally. He also mentioned a woman named Delilah who stabbed him in the back a long time ago. The new Mary was too frightened to be talked to due to the circumstances of her surroundings. And Lisa, well, I'm not talking to her again. Kind of pointless considering she's technically 6. That just left Bob. Bob, still claiming to be an investment banker from New York, didn't provide much information on the doll, so I changed the subject. "What's with the coins?" "Oh, these." He pointed to his bloody sockets. "They're my lucky coins." Yeah, whatever you say, Bob. I returned to my office and poured a cup of coffee. I nearly had a heart attack when I turned round and saw that bloody doll sitting on my desk. It was not there when I came in. Pinned to its chest was a note, scribbled in crayon. It read simply, "Look up." I do not know why, but I followed its instructions. On the ceiling, looking down at me, was me. The person was duct taped to the ceiling. His eyes were gouged out, and carved into his forehead was another message. "Stop." I blinked, and the corpse and the doll were gone. I ran to the monitors and saw the doll back in Lisa's cage, looking directly at the camera. I'm starting to think that this isn't worth $500 a day.
Hey folks, thank you so much for watching this reading. It means a lot to me that you are here and listening in. If you feel that I did a good job, I would love it if you subscribed and commented, and let me know how you think I could improve. Take care and have a great day.